Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earth and Sky. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning, and I am continuing our segment, our four-part series that we've been talking about with the elements and the directions. So if you haven't already caught up, you might want to see the other videos that we've been doing about the elements. Today we are talking about the East and all the inspiration that the East brings. So each of the directions has their own element that's correlated. So when I talk about the elements, I mean earth, air, fire, water. We can get into more maybe later on as we might do more that are talking about spirit and some of the other realms that can follow beyond that. But the four basic, earth, air, fire, and water, the south represents the fire, and the East represents the air. Each of the directions has their own season as well. The element of air brings up a lot of inspiration. Sometimes when you think about it, you may think about how your thoughts seem to just sometimes come in on a wind or come in through the air and just seem to manifest in your head suddenly. You get those aha moments that come in like a breeze flowing into your head. The creativity element really ramps up a lot with the East as well. And when we talked about fire, we talked about the creativity that touches into a little bit, but fire touches into it more in a way of transforming things and really shifting and making changes. And as those transformations happen, the creativity that gets inspired as you let go of the old and you bring in the new and you think about what new ideas you want to create, well, you're bringing in some of that inspiration of the East and the air as you think about, what do I want to create? What do I want to bring in? I've burned away and cleared away and released away all of those things that were holding back, or maybe you're in the process of letting go of the stuff that holds you back, and you're thinking about what you want to bring in. If you think about and you picture what your most ideal life would look like, what does it look like? How does that feel to you? You're tapping into the element of the East and the air as you're thinking about that. Within the shamanisms, tribe within the Laika tribe in shamanism, we reference the East as Apuchin, or eagle is the English word for it. But eagle comes in through the East. He rises to these high heights and allows us to see the landscape far below, to see the big picture of things. Sometimes if you feel like you've gotten mired under stress and you're trying to figure out how to climb your way out of a problem, you need to climb up and get higher into the air with eagle and look through eagle's penetrating vision to see everything around you so that you're not just seeing that small amount that's in your focus that's surrounded in a capsule of stress. Instead, you need to spread your wings. Feel the wind and the air that is around you. Allow yourself to lift and get a good picture. Because when you step back and you look at the big picture, then you see all of the avenues of hope. You see all of the possibilities that are around you. And you start to see where the roads are and where the roads go so that you know what direction you want to follow and where you want to go, where you want to take your life, where you want to lead yourself into. The inspiration and the creativity of the air, the element of the air from the East is what lifts you up and guides you there. I remember my first real in-depth experience with eagle when I was doing a shaman journey, and I was really leaning into the element of the East and trying to lean in and see what the East had to teach me and where it wanted to take me. And I saw Apuchin come in towards me, and he offered to let me take a ride on him. And who wouldn't want to take a ride on an eagle if they offer that? So within the shaman journey, I found myself going on the back of the eagle, and we went higher and higher, and we started looking down, and I saw looking over the community where I'm in and looking over the state, and he kept taking me higher as we flew around to different worlds, and we went around to different parts of the world, over to Egypt and many different valleys, and we went over the mountains, and we got to see how life grows and how life flourishes and how there are so many paths to get to where you want to go. And there are so many options of what you may want to do and where you may want to go, but those are all within your power to manifest. When you recognize and you lean into the elements that are around you, you're able to recognize that everything you have is already there. Everything you need is already there. It's already within you. It's already around you. You are the one that creates your life, good and bad and everything in between. You are the creator of that. And in knowing that and recognizing that, it gives you back your power so that you can create with it in the way that you want to create. And the inspiration of the East helps you to be able to recognize what new ideas you want to have and what new visions you want to have. Or maybe you're already really happy with where your life is and you feel like you're just living the dream and you're so excited about it. The inspiration of the East helps you so you never get bored with it too. It helps you so you can always see where the new adventures are, and so you can always see where you can go for growth. It helps you to lift up and see the big picture as you look down at everything that is around you. If you find yourself starting to have problems maybe in a relationship and you're not sure where to go or what to do, or you're trying to figure out how is this other person thinking the way they're thinking and you're not understanding where they're coming from, when you lean into the inspiration of the East, it helps you to lift up out of yourself so you can see from their point of view. Sometimes we need to really pull ourselves out of who we are and put ourselves in other people's shoes to see why they think the way they do, why they feel the way they do, so that we can find our middle ground of compromise. And the East helps us with compromise as well because it's full of ideas and inspiration. The East wants us to be able to find hope and to find and to renew our sense of freedom and our sense of joy. The East brings in a lot of joy as it flows in through the winds and through the air and through the breeze and into you, renewing you and refreshing you and revitalizing you. If you feel like you need to be lifted up, if you feel like you've been feeling really heavy or weighed down, the air can lift you up like a cloud of air, like a pillow, rising up so you can feel lighter as your stress releases away. So the color of the East is represented by the color yellow very frequently. Sometimes you might see a couple other colors mentioned in there, but usually yellow is, and when I mentioned a minute ago that the East brings joy, yellow is really a color of joy. It's a bright, sunny color. It brings in that extra zest, that extra pep of energy when you look at the color yellow. They've actually done a study, this was quite several years ago, but people who live in yellow houses tend to be happier people. So maybe you want to consider painting a room in your house or maybe the outside of your house to a color of yellow that you find brings you a sense of joy. And wearing the color yellow can do that same thing too, bringing that essence of joy, livening it up within yourself. When you want to tap into both the element of the South and the element of the East, you can do that by using a yellow candle. And then you're both using that flame, that fire that's burning up and clearing away the old, and you're focusing on the element of air. As it's releasing away, it's going out into the air. You're bringing both of those in. That yellow color will bring you a lot of joy as you're working with that, and maybe even thinking about what goals you have. You could do that while you're using the candles. You can also use the color red if you want to lean more into the South element, that fiery, passionate element, or the color yellow if you're wanting to bring in the creativity, the inspiration, the joy factor, lifting all of that up. That color yellow is wonderful. The Archangel Raphael is the Archangel of the East. He and Michael are the two that I work with the most. but Raphael is the one of the supreme physicians. He helps the inner healer. He is the archangel of healing. If there are things within your life that you feel like you need to heal, whether it is something physical, or maybe it's emotional, or maybe it's mental, or maybe it is other aspects but within your life, but something that needs healing, call on Archangel Raphael. He is there and happy and ready to work with you. If you prefer to work with the female aspects, you can call on Archangel Raphaela. That brings in the same archangel but the female components. The angels do not have a gender. They sometimes show a gender because that helps us to be able to relate to them in some ways. So if you prefer to work with either the male or the female aspects of it, they are happy to oblige either way. They just want what is best for you. Angels require you to ask for their help because they respect free will. So if you want to work with them, all you need to do is ask, and they're right there. The Archangel of Healing, an amazing physician. Raphael is great for the element of the East, inspiration, creativity, joy, all of those things as in addition to the healing. And there are foods that you can eat for each of the directions as well, as you're working to figure out how to lean into the energy of each direction, how to bring that energy into your life. One of those definitely is food. And so since this is a direction of creativity and inspiration and lightness, so think about that with your foods. Think about some of the more creative ways to eat food, some fun types of foods. Perhaps it might even be things that look really creative, or maybe you want to splurge on a complicated dish or something that is creative and enjoy as you work through all the layers of it and see yourself bringing those nutrients into yourself and healing all of those layers that you have within yourself as well. Some of the other types of food, in addition to those creative types, would be light and airy foods like popcorn. Popcorn is kind of a creative food in its own way too, isn't it? Interesting. A tiny little seed, and you add that heat to it, and it just pops up into a really light and puffy edible treat. So popcorn can be a good one. Popcorn is often kind of a light yellow color too. So you're bringing in a lot of those aspects of the East as you apply that heat. Let it puff out into something light and airy and bringing that yellowness into yourself. Any kinds of yellow foods like squash and things like that can help as well. Also breads, any kind of light and fluffy breads. Those are really good for bringing in the element of the East and the airy elements. Macaroons, green tea, eggs, and salmon are also all good foods. Maybe not all at the same time, but those are all good foods that you can do for bringing in the element of East into your life. Anything that is very, very light. Some of the lighter seafoods, anything like that, very good for bringing in the elements of inspiration, creativity, joy, light, healing, all of those beautiful things that the element of the air brings through the direction of the East. So think light foods. And then for the seasons, so we've been talking about the different seasons as well that go with each of the directions. And the air is represented by the season of winter. When you think about the crisp, cool winter air and how crisp it is when you breathe that in, it really is one of the remarkable seasons that brings in how it feels when you're breathing in that air. We often will notice that with that crispness in the trees, or when it's really cold, you might really feel that air as it's moving into your nose. But in the winter, that's our time for planning and for creativity and for figuring out what kinds of things we want to do. When we've talked about walking our way around the wheel, the winter is our time for planning, the spring is our time for planting, the summer is the time that is full of activity as those harvests are beginning to rise up, and then the fall is when you harvest all of the things that you worked so hard to create all year, leading you back into planning the next season and the next cycle, which is where the the direction of the east starts in the element of air. Often the tribes that are in North America will start in the east direction, while the tribes that are south of the equator actually will start in the south. It's kind of an interesting thing. I haven't been able to find out why that is specifically yet. I have a couple theories of my own, but it's kind of an interesting thing. So do what resonates for you. If you feel like you want to work your way around all of these different elements and bringing them in and finding balance within yourself and within your life, you may feel drawn to start in the east and work your way through clockwise, or you may feel drawn to start in the south and work your way clockwise, and maybe spending a week with each of the elements and drinking the types of drinks that will work well with them, and eating the types of foods, maybe using some of the things with candles, and meditating on that element is another great way to bring in and to balance. So if you feel like you have an element within your life that is really out of balance, then it sometimes can be good to balance it out with one of the others. If you feel like you just have your life is on fire and you feel like you're always really warm and you're always putting out fires in your life, or you feel like you just feel like that is really overactive, then you might want to go to the other side of it. So the fire is represented by the south. The opposite end would be the north, which is the element of earth. And you can check out the Life Talk on Earth to learn all about that. If you feel like you are needing what the element has, then it's good to really lean into that element. If you feel like you are just really needing inspiration, you're needing creativity, and you just feel like you're kind of in a rut as far as your thinking and you're not feeling really inspired, then you're going to want to pull in all of these elements that we talked about for the element of the east. Wearing yellow clothes, eating yellow foods, light and fluffy foods, things like that, bringing up that joy, allowing yourself to lift up with Apuchin or with the eagle so that you can really rise above your situation, get the bigger perspective, and then come back down with some answers and a game plan of where you want to go, how you want to plant your seeds so that you have the harvest that you want to have. Always working our way around that wheel. I hope that gives you some food for thought with the element of the air, the direction of the east, as we work our way through each of these. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much.